What a morning we've had. Hello and welcome back to Beezy's Stream of Consciousness podcast. Today is Friday, May 24th, 2024. And this is your humble host, Beezy. We've had an interesting morning. Kind of lost my cool this morning. Not real happy about that, but wanted to confess that to you, my gentle listeners, and the man upstairs. I was not a good boy at a four-way stop. It's one of those things you're not supposed to do at a stop sign. Anyway, I lost my cool with another driver, and anyway, I didn't do anything. I yelled inside my own car and set off my Apple Watch that was in a loud environment. Anyway, I don't like losing my cool. I'm very measured about that. I don't like getting all mentally irregular, as Paul used to say. So anyway, but I did recover and went on about my pointed rounds. For those of you who don't know, one of Beezy's many talents is that he is a highly trained delivery person. So I was out about making deliveries, and I had two deliveries to make, and the driver in front of me decided that he didn't want to move at the four-way, and then I guess he just forgot how to work it. So anyway, we moved past that, and that is another. That's more fodder for another show. Would be the confessions and the adventures of a delivery driver. By delivery, I mean Uber and DoorDash. Those have been my primary vehicles of delivery choice. Primarily DoorDash recently, but yeah, we'll talk about that once upon a time, but not today. We got a lot to do today. Today's show is brought to you by the great state of Texas and Miracle Fine Automobiles. If it runs, it's a miracle. So today we are here at the Starbase One studio, and we're going to do a little different thing for Fridays moving forward, starting today. We want to do something fun and festive on Friday. Is that enough alliteration for you? Hopefully it is. But nevertheless, and always the more, want to do something different today. And did you hear that? I heard it, and I won't tell you what it was. But in any event, I wanted to do. At first, I thought I would do Field Trip Friday, so I would take you on a ride with me. But that wouldn't have gone well today. For the aforementioned reasons. So what we're going to do is on Fridays we're going to do Beezy's Top 10, and we're going to do just different top 10 topics, top 10 Rush songs, top 10 classic TV shows, top 10 Star Trek episodes, top 10 whatever. But I thought, you know what, some people that haven't been in the news too much recently, at least since the draft, would be our other heroes in Arlington, the Dallas Cowboys, the franchise that I have a love-hate relationship with. I've got a love relationship from back in the day when I was growing up, when they were America's team. Well, they still are, but back then Roger Staubach was a quarterback. Tom Landry was the coach. And a lot of Hall of Famers were on that roster, and they had some great battles with some great teams, and we'll talk more about that. But the Cowboys have been kind of out of the news. They had a decent draft, but no big splashes in free agency. So it's been kind of quiet. I think the biggest news right now is Dak Prescott's contract situation. Is he going to get a new deal this year? Are they going to let him play it out and then let him try free agency? What's going on with CeeDee Lamb and his contract? He's holding out. So, so what I wanted to talk about today, my top 10 is going to be Dallas Cowboys quarterbacks. Top 10 Dallas Cowboys quarterbacks in your humble host's humble opinion. You are free to disagree. You are free to interject whatever you think, and you can do that in the comments I am on many platforms now. Our show is on YouTube. It's on Podbean. It's um, some other pod something or other. Spotify, of course, and uh, so if you're on X, formerly Twitter, every time I drop an episode, you will see a notification there, and feel free to zoom on over to whatever platform you like, and I should be there. So we can go on about all of that, and but anyway, I kind of got that part figured out now. If I can get the gain on my microphone, get that where it needs to be. There we go. Okay. So, but anyway, the top 10, that's a lot of fun. Um, we're gonna talk about some unlikely people that you probably haven't heard of in several years, and then some very familiar names are going to come up near the top of the list. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about well, first off, uh, I told you why I love the Cowboys. The reason that they're a source of consternation and frustration for me is I really respected and admired, still do, Coach Landry, God rest his soul. He was the Dallas Cowboys coach from their inception in 1960 until his unceremonious dismissal in 1989. And the at that point, a new regime had come in. Um, Jerry Jones bought the team from Bum Bright, who had bought it from the Murchison family a few years before. But Jerry came and bought the team, um, flew down to Austin, found Coach Landry on the golf course, and dismissed him there. And as he as Jerry said, it made him feel very inadequate. Um, you know, Jerry and his isms. I think I could write a book about all of those. And Jerry didn't do himself any favors. Didn't endear himself to the fans as just some of the things that he's said over the years. And now I will give the devil his due. I think Jerry has been good for the league. I think as far as building the value of the franchise, he has done a magnificent job of that. The Cowboys are regularly one of the most, if not the most valuable sports franchise in the world, and that's saying something because there's some heavyweights out there. But the thing is, when you grow up in the 70s and 80s, I mean, there are certain benchmarks in sports. The Cowboys, for example, were the benchmark in the NFL at that time. They were the New York Yankees of the NFL, the Montreal Canadiens, the you know um, the Boston Celtics or the L.A. Lakers. I mean, they were the model franchise of the time, and they really set the tone for the rest of the NFL for years. I mean, their general manager Tex Schramm was a genius when it came to marketing the NFL. Um, got the NFL on TV. He enabled the cheerleaders. He did all kinds of marketing things that turned the NFL into the behemoth that we know that it is today. So we owe a great deal to the Giants of that era, and I'm not talking about the New York Giants. I'm talking about the Giants of the NFL. The Tom Landrys, the Don Shulas, the George Hallases, Vince Lombardi, Chuck Noll, um, the I mean, I could go on and on with the list of Hall of Fame coaches from that era that we owe a great debt of gratitude to. So, anyway, I could go on and on about that, but let's delve into Cowboys quarterbacks. Um, there are few positions in sports that are under the microscope as much as the starting quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. And we'll go through what I consider to be the top 10. And the top 10 isn't necessarily about wins and losses. It could be about influence. It could be about tenure. Um, uh, but my top 10 is going to incorporate a lot of things. Again, you may agree, you may disagree, you may want to, you know, shake up the list, however it suits you. But this is my opinion and my list. So, but the Dallas Cowboys starting quarterback is the face of the franchise. Sorry, Jerry, but Dak is the face of the franchise. Sorry about that. Um, and he sets the tone for the team. And the quarterback position, unlike any other in sports, is the most important. And so when you have the most important position on the most valuable franchise in the NFL, that a lot of weight is on those shoulders, or those shoulder pads, as it were. So, but let's talk about Cowboys quarterbacks. I'm not going to do an honorable mention list because I'll be honest with you, there haven't been since 1960 all that many. I don't know exactly how many. I thought about getting that number for you, and I probably will anon. But let's start off with number 10. That would be Eddie LeBaron, who played for 4 years, from 1960 to 1963, for the Cowboys. He had come from the Washington franchise. I refuse to call them by their new name, and I'm not allowed to call them by their old name. So I will refer to them as the Washingtons. So he came over from the Washingtons, where he was Rookie of the Year in 1952. He was a four-time Pro Bowler. He was a Marine Corps vet from the Korean War. And he was only 5'7" tall, and they referred to him as the Little General. He also played. He came over in the expansion draft. The Cowboys were an expansion NFL team in 1960, and Washington. Every team had to put so many players on the expansion list so that the new team could stock their roster. And apparently, the Little General was near the end of his rope with the Washingtons, so they put him on the list. The Cowboys claimed him, and he was their inaugural starting quarterback. And he was on the roster for 4 years. He played professionally for the Washingtons, for the Cowboys, and for the Calgary Stampeders of the Canadian Football League. So, number 10 on our list is Eddie LeBaron. Moving up to number 9, might be a controversial pick, but his name is Quincy Carter, and he played for 3 years for the Cowboys, compiling a 16-15 record. He played for 2 NFL teams, the Cowboys and the Jets, and he was drafted out of Georgia, much to the consternation of the fan base here in Dallas. Quincy, he had substance abuse problems as well as other problems, but when he was on, he was a fairly serviceable quarterback. He didn't have a whole lot of pieces surrounding him in those years, but that is number 9, is the Q kid, as Randy Galloway used to call him. Number 8 on our hit parade is Steve Berline. He only played with us for 2 years, but he compiled a 5-1 record, won a playoff game for us, and served as Troy Aikman's primary backup. He played for 6 teams in his NFL career. He was drafted by the Raiders out of Notre Dame in 1987, number 4th pick, number 110 in the draft. That would be Steve Berline. Next up is the current signal caller of the Cowboys, Dak Prescott out of Mississippi State. This will be his 9th year at the helm. He has compiled a 73-41 record, and he is currently playing the last year of his contract with the Cowboys. And there is much discussion, and there's a lot of questions surrounding whether or not he is going to continue after this season as the Cowboys quarterback. So we shall watch with interest what happens with Dak. I think he's gotten a lot of mixed press here in the DFW Metroplex. He's apparently a pretty good guy, but in order to be the Cowboys quarterback, you have to win, and he's done a good job of that in the regular season. Has not done so well in the playoffs where it matters. So, Dak, we wish you luck and hope it works out this year. Number 6 on our list is Tony Romo, fan favorite. For 14 years, he was signal caller here. 78-49 was his record. He was an undrafted free agent out of Eastern Illinois. He is the franchise passing yards leader, as well as he's thrown the most touchdowns in franchise history. And Tony was a lot of fun to watch play. He was he had some unforgettable moments, both good and bad, with the franchise. One of his most forgettable moments was involved when he was the holder in a playoff game against the Seattle Seahawks. Either threw a bad snap or either threw just muffing the snap. Fumbled the snap. They couldn't get the kickoff, and he tried to run it in, which would have been the game-winning touchdown, and he was stopped just short. So that's always been kind of attached to him. He never had any playoff success with the Cowboys, and that's always been kind of the book on Tony. He was very exciting to watch. He did good things in the regular season, but when the lights got the hottest and the brightest, he couldn't take it to the next level. So, and that's a shame. Number 5 on our list is Dandy Don Meredith out of SMU. He's a native Texan. He played quarterback for 9 years. Had a record with the franchise of 48 wins, 33 losses, and 4 ties. He led the Cowboys to 2 NFL championship game appearances. Both of those ended up being losses against the eventual Super Bowl champion Green Bay Packers. So Don was our quarterback in those early years. He was a good transition from the Eddie LeBaron years, the expansion years, up into taking us right up to the edge where we could make the playoffs on a regular basis, and then a couple of other quarterbacks that I'll talk about took us to the next level. So Don Meredith is number 5 on our list. One of those quarterbacks that I was just referencing. Number 4 on our list is Craig Morton, who was under center with the Cowboys for 9 years, compiled an 80-73 record. He did lead the Cowboys to their first Super Bowl appearance, Super Bowl V against the Baltimore Colts, also known as the Blunder Bowl because of the amount of turnovers and mistakes that were made in the game. Cowboys lost on the last play of the game. Jim O'Brien, the rookie kicker of the Colts, kicked a 32-yard field goal to prevail, and the Colts won 16-13. And that, incidentally, is also the only Super Bowl where the most valuable player named by the media came from the losing team. That was Chuck Howley of the Cowboys. No other player in NFL history has been named MVP of the Super Bowl from the losing side. Only Chuck in that game. He had a monster game. But Craig Morton, he had a rocket arm, came out of Cal, and he was the prototypical pocket passer of the era. He did not move well, but he had a strong arm, and he was extremely tough. He would stand to the last minute, waiting for his man to get open, And in those days, he had a couple of good receivers in Frank Clark, and of course the magnificently fast Bob Hayes, and had some good running backs as well. So those Cowboy teams that Craig played on brought, like Don Meredith brought the Cowboys to that point. Craig was able to take us up to the next level, actually get us to the Super Bowl. Unfortunately, we weren't able to prevail. So that's number 4, Craig Morton. He also went on to play with the Denver Broncos, took them to the Super Bowl, where by strange happenstance the Cowboys played them and just beat the tar out of them. I mean, Craig couldn't do anything right. He was always on his backside. He was just used and abused in that game. So that was the 1977 Super Bowl against the Denver Broncos. Cowboys won in New Orleans 27-10. Number 3 on our list is Danny White, who was under center for the Cowboys for 13 years with a 62-30 record. He was out of ASU, Arizona State University. He was also a punter and handled the punting chores for the Cowboys for those 13 years. He did lead them to 3 consecutive NFC Championship game appearances. Unfortunately, in 1981, he ran into a blonde buzzsaw named Joe Montana and with San Francisco, and that was the catch game, where there towards the end, Montana made a desperation heave into the end zone, and White Clark made a fingertip catch over Everson Walls and in front of Michael Downs to win the game and propel them to the Super Bowl. The next year, Danny had quarterbacked the Cowboys. He and Gary Hogenboom throughout the strike-shortened season, but he did get them to the championship game against the Washingtons. Washington prevailed 31-17, I believe. Danny had a rough game. I think he got bowled. And also in 1980, the Cowboys. He had led the Cowboys to the championship game against the hated Philadelphia Eagles, and they played a very cold game up in Veterans Stadium. Remember Tom Landry, who always wore fedoras or different hats because the game was so cold. He wore a Russian hat to go with his fur jacket. Very stylish was Coach Landry. So, but the Cowboys lost that game 20-7. Dick Vermeil was the Philadelphia coach, and Wilbur Montgomery was the running back of the Eagles, and their quarterback was a familiar face to sports fans who are consumers of ESPN, and that would be Ron Jaworski, Jaws. So number 3 on our list is Danny White. Number 2 on our list is Troy Aikman out of UCLA. He was the Cowboys quarterback for 11 years, compiled a record of 94-71. He was the MVP of Super Bowl 27. He is an NFL Hall of Famer, 3-time Super Bowl champ, 6-time Pro Bowler. I could go on and on about Troy's accolades. He is one of the lead announcers for the NFL now. He's just whenever you think of the Cowboys of the 90s and beyond, you always think of Troy Aikman, and he is the measuring stick for right or wrong. He is the measuring stick for Cowboys quarterbacks to this day, except for numero uno, our own Roger Staubach. He was our quarterback for 10 years, compiled a record of 85-29. He was 6-time Pro Bowler, Super Bowl MVP of Super Bowl 6. He was a 10th round, that is 10, 1-0, 10th round draft pick out of Navy in 1963, and then he went on active duty and didn't appear in an NFL game until 1969. So he was a Heisman Trophy winner at Navy, Navy vet. He served in Vietnam, two-time Super Bowl winner, and of course a Hall of Famer. So next question out of your mouth is going to be, okay, why, Beezy, did you choose Staubach over Aikman? And I'll confess that is a sentimental pick. I grew up watching Roger play, and there was no quarterback like him in those days. He played from 69 to 79, so I got to watch him as a kid. Went to many games at Texas Stadium. He was also known as Roger the Dodger, and if a team or if a play broke down, he had no compunction about tucking the ball and running, and it was a very successful rushing quarterback. In fact, it got him in trouble with injuries and got him in trouble with Coach Landry. Coach Landry didn't like it when he ran. He wanted his quarterback to stay put, but Roger was great at extending plays with his feet. He was very, very tough, played with injuries. On his throwing hand, his pinky was bent at an odd angle, so he always gripped the ball funny. But he had a rocket arm, and he had some great supporting cast. He had some great receivers in the early years. He had we talked about Bob Hayes. He had Bob Hayes until '74. He had Golden Richards and Drew Pearson, and then Tony Hill. I had some great targets for the tight end. But when the Staubach Cowboys, when they really flourished, were the last 3 years of his career when they drafted Tony Dorsett, and then Roger had the premier running back in the league to take some heat off of him. And he wasn't a great statistical quarterback. He was just a winner, and you could never count him out. He was also known as Captain Comeback. I want to say he led the Cowboys to victory from behind in the fourth quarter 27 times or something like that. So, he was really something special. His last regular season game, he brought the Cowboys. They were playing at home against the Washingtons. I remember listening. Oh, God bless you. That was our producer, I believe. Or was that our engineer? Well, it was one of them. They're behind me, so I couldn't see. But in any event, this was in late December. I remember listening to it. I remember watching it on TV to begin, but then Dad had his company Christmas party, and so we were listening to the game on the radio without much hope, because when we left, the Cowboys were losing in the fourth quarter, 34 to 21 to the Washingtons, and they just weren't. We just didn't think that it was going to work out, and there was a playoff berth on the line. It was the last game of the regular season of 1979, and Roger led them back, throwing the winning touchdown pass to Tony Thrill Hill in the last few seconds. It was a fade to the right corner of the end zone over Lamar Parrish, and the Cowboys won 35 to 34. That was his last regular season game. The next week they played a wild card game against the LA Rams, and Cowboys lost 21 to 19. So kind of a ignominious end to Rodgers' career, especially the last pass he completed to anybody was to guard Herb Scott, which is against the rules. Obviously, it's an illegal forward pass. But Roger was being sacked in the final seconds and just kind of tossed it, and Herb caught it. So, as a former offensive lineman myself, you're always thrilled to touch the ball. So Roger is number one on our list, and I know a lot of you might say, well, I don't know about that. When I think of Cowboy quarterbacks, I think of Aikman and Romo and Prescott. But I do recall a different time. There are those who might remember that Craig Morton and Roger had quite a rivalry early in their Cowboy career. Coach Landry couldn't seem to decide which one he wanted to start. In fact, he even alternated them on consecutive plays for a brief time until he settled on a starter. Once he settled on Roger, then Craig became expendable, and that's when they traded him to the Giants. But the draft picks that they got, they were able to parlay into some other future stars. So it all worked out. And Craig was a good guy, great arm, tough guy. We do appreciate him, his work getting him to Super Bowl V, and some of his playoff wins in the late 60s in relief of Don Meredith. But anyway, the Cowboys quarterbacks, just to review again: number 10, Eddie LeBaron; number 9, Quincy Carter; number 8, Steve Berline; 7, Dak Prescott; 6, Tony Romo; 5, Don Meredith; 4, Craig Morton; 3, Danny White; 2, Troy Aikman; and number 1 is Roger Staubach. So again, it's not all about metrics. It's not always about metrics. Sometimes it's more subjective than objective. So that's our top 10 for today. There was something else I wanted to discuss with you. Tonight is date night. Susan and I have a standing rendezvous on Friday nights. We'll go out to eat someplace, enjoy some adult beverages, and some good food, and enjoy each other's company. And usually, if there's a game on, we'll watch that. So usually there's a bar attached to where it is that we're eating, and I enjoy getting some pub grub and a good drink, and with my lady at my side. So don't know where we're going to go tonight. We won't know till we get there. Sometimes we're accompanied by one of the boys, either Barbarossa or Sweet Baby James, but Barbarossa is working late tonight, and I don't know what James has planned. But if he surfaces, then he's welcome to join us, as always. Tomorrow evening we have family pictures, and I might go out of character and actually post that somewhere. Maybe. I don't know. As you know, Beezy is not the social media butterfly that maybe you've heard, but whatever you've heard is not accurate. I'm not a social media guy. Yeah, I'll post on. I'll drop something on X when I drop an episode, but that's about the extent of my social media presence. Anyway, so I think we're going to go ahead and wrap up here. I do appreciate you spending your Friday with me, or whenever you're listening to this. So on behalf of our producer Elsa, our engineer Lily, and our call screener and security officer Finlet, wish you all a happy weekend. We'll be talking again tomorrow, very briefly, for our weekend update. We'll have some things to discuss in the sports world, and well, maybe we'll talk about what we did tonight. So in any event, y'all have a safe Friday. If we don't talk before then, have a great weekend, and live long and prosper. Talk to you soon.